Welcome to Chartroom. We're going to be doing live, and primarily the only videos that are going to be posted going forward are tutorial videos on Wednesday and the recaps from each of our meetings, so we discover a lot of things. In addition, every now and then the record button is on. If there's very important information that you guys are hearing or things you want to discuss or talk about, we can edit those out or we can include them in. So sometimes there's a very important discussion piece that you may have been sharing or you want to share with us or with our community during these times, you can. Okay, and then we'll put it on the menu as well. All right. But let's look at some of the market. Let's see what's going on. We see a lot of people are wondering about all the bullishness that has been coming into the market. And this is the part where I told you guys we need to be careful and watch this chart because there's still more bullishness on the board. This chart was about right here. Okay. And this is our USDT.D chart. And when we see this chart, we're able to know the general direction that the market should be moving in, and about how long until those things change. And we're gonna talk about some very powerful things today. Okay, I'm going to compare USDT to an older chart on Euro. Okay, and I'm going to show you a very similar pattern to what I believe is happening. The story needs to be set in context, and I'll probably include this in the video. But the story needs to be set in context. That this chart, when this chart goes up, generally Bitcoin goes down, and when this chart goes down, Bitcoin generally goes up, or at least in its strides, and it has a strong opportunity. There was three major waves of energy. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, these are the big waves. 1, 2, and 3. These peaks here and here, that's again here and here, related to a strong flat energy. Okay, and then price broke above and we never came back down to those old flats. I've been watching this space for more than 2 years. Back here was it 2022 of May. Okay, and now we're in February of 2024, and this is a spot that we've been looking at just recently. Only recently did I extend the range down a little bit further to account for the monthly chart, which means the lower side, which is around 4.61, is something I'm also expecting. That means the core of this move that lasted over from the year of July of 2019 all the way to September of 2020 stops right here on that 4.63. And the last move from that started in November of 2021 and lasted till January 2022 was also here. This is a monthly chart. Okay, so this is strong energy that I think price is going to bounce on. I think price is going to pop up like it did and come down to this area and then reverse, and then it's going to hit the cores, which is the foundational energy of here and here. Okay, so this is the top. This is also round action. This is foundational energy. If I take this core and I draw a straight line, this little piece way back here is stopped exactly along that track. That's what I call verification. You'll usually see me draw this with a V. Okay, so this line right here is something very powerful to watch for. If you wanted to give it a label, you can draw that line yourself and then tap on the line and put your settings. And we're going to put down, I already put mine, foundational key angle, and then we can put in parentheses monthly chart. You can even put dot verification. Okay, little notes that help you remind you what it is you're looking at. Now my line's kind of long, but if I put it on the left hand side, let's put it on the text on the top, and then we're going to put it in the center. You can see the line will show up, and I can make the color the lightest shade of that blue just as a reminder. Okay, so foundational key angle, monthly chart. Now, what I'm expecting is prices to reverse on this chart and hit that top area. It will look like this, bounce, and come up to this area. From here, I think we're going to experience another bull run. When this chart goes up, Bitcoin goes down. When this chart goes down, Bitcoin goes up, and also generally most of the markets. All right, so what does that look like? That looks like once we're on our way down here, we have a big bull run that is able to happen. You're going to see a lot of cryptos make some big strides, and that is what has been happening over the past several weeks. We also can see this thing by play-by-play and the smaller time frames by taking and extracting the energy from these areas as close as we can, which we have it as the tiger line. Okay, this line right here, and then taking that angle and duplicating it out at the energy centers, which we do in our tiger tutorial, we were able to see 7.82 with verification in the past. That means that this track is not a random coincidence. This track right here is a sign either for health, price should bounce on here, and if it breaks below that area, that means there's a weakness on this chart, which means crypto should go up. So I knew when we got closes below this area around here in October, that's a sign primarily that we should be continuing going down. And the next one was here along that track, and then finally another one here. And when we saw price rounding over the past few weeks, rounding right here, I did a video about this, and I made it in blue. And it was this chart here, right there. This one was on Wednesday. Let's see, I don't know which date this was exactly, but this was several weeks ago. We saw rounding action. I said, this is a very sign of weakness. We're rounding up in here. This is a very strong sign. The fact that we're still here means that we can be bullish anytime, but it seemed like prices were trying to go down at that time, wasn't ready. So it rallies more organic energy, just rounding over time, getting the whole market behind itself, and then the move happens. So once I see that stop right exactly on that 6.6, we are ready to go. Okay. Now, this is what happens in just a very short time because everything's already set up. Okay, we should have been moving down to that blue area, and this is where alarm bells start ringing. This is where we have to start thinking about our exit plan. We have to start thinking about profit-taking zones. Recently, there's been some prophetic words that saying Bitcoin should hit around 55,000. Now, I shouldn't say recently. Some of these old words are pretty old. There's also prophetic words of Bitcoin hitting higher targets. But for the $55,000 area, it seems about these seasons. Now, on my map, I have 53,000 as the top of the target zone, just based on the data. But it's possible we can go just a little bit higher to those areas because on this chart, it is possible we're going to hit one of two areas. We're going to either hit the top side at 4.98, or we're going to hit the bottom side of the 4.61 area. Okay, now I've already marked out the exact area on here, 4.97 and 4.61. But this is a very large range, but somewhere within this range I'm looking to turn. In addition to that, just using that same Tiger calculation, which we had here, there's another Tiger support using the lower sides of the spectrum, the first one being here, second one being here, and the third one being here, all at those cores. I've already plotted those points out for us. And the first one is somewhere about right here at 4.82. So somewhere around here in the middle of this zone is primarily where I'm expecting prices to stop. That means we could spike down to the low side, and if we stop right there, alarm bells are going to be going off in my head because I have this chart. I'll be looking at this, which means we still have some bullishness to go, okay? From this chart, which is currently right here at 5.9%, we can move down another good chunk, okay? Which means I'm still in the markets. I'm still bullish, and you guys probably should still be bullish too. Just like we were bullish at 6.48, we need to be bullish all the way until price is showing that signs of reversal. But I think it's going to come quickly, and it's going to come swiftly. People prophesied about a large up move and then a down move. And then there was also people who prophesied about a large godlike candle. That's what they call it in the markets. It almost looks straight up and then a move basically straight down. The one that's for 55 prophecy, there was one primarily that Milton said, and there's a few other people that have said a similar thing. I have a picture of it here, and I shared this, and it looks something like this. Milton said this: I saw this in a dream before I woke up just now. Not sure when this may happen. That was back in January 29 of 2022. But you can see that we went up on a parabolic curve. And this is for Bitcoin. And it went up on a parallel curve and then went down. Now, Bitcoin has been going up along that parallel curve. And in fact, I have a chart that perfectly demonstrates this, showing that parabolic curve. there's two curves, one on the larger monthly chart and then one on the smaller weekly chart. And I believe that the weekly one is what we need to see. It looks like this. Okay. This is the weekly chart. This is November 2022. This is September 2023. This is the track and this is the curve by which it can go up on. I have multi-touch flat support around $60,000 area. Okay. But this is where we're at right now. Bitcoin is at 52. Okay. One of my highs on my other chart that shows our targets, there's a target, it's not listed on here, but it should be around 53 to the high side, 51 to the low side. And we're within that range. And I'll pull that up in just a little bit. But this type of thing would match what we're seeing. So price might look like this. We move up to 55, and then we can have a large move down to the low side. Now, how far would the low side actually look? Well, if I'm looking at this, I do have some support along this track right here, this parallel track around 29K. I'm not saying we're going to get that far down. If that's a pretty big deep, but it dip. But it is possible we'll get down to that low. Personally, I think we're only going to 35 to 32 area because there's a target here. We may spike lower, but ultimately, if we settle around 35 to 32,000 area, I'm still looking bullish. Okay, I will include this in your image notes today. The other thing we can see, looking at the story in context, you know how the next few months or weeks should play out. When we have our move up to here, that could constitute a move from Bitcoin going to 55 to the 35, 32,000 area. This move up here would be primarily expected. And I would only expect more continuation of negative action if we're allowed to break above this track, which currently is around 7.82. If we're able to break above that track that you guys draw, this foundational line with verification, remember, then I would see that we have a chance to go much lower, because when this chart goes higher, Bitcoin goes lower. Okay, so that's what I'm expecting. Only if we clear here, I'm going to be panicking, so to speak. I'm not going to panic, but I'm just going to be bearish in the markets. But if we stop here at 7.82, I will be more bullish. Okay, for another season, we'll become bullish. So that means we'll want to reverse the position. Overall, it's going to look like some major ups and downs. And there's going to be a lot of people in the markets who are not knowing what is actually happening. But as we've seen, we can know these moves well in advance. I would love to be able to clear this area and actually hit some of these projections here, or even one of the major ones down here. Okay. The major one is going to be this one right there. Yeah. This is going to be a very interesting time and season for many people. And I want you to know I'm here. I'm going to be here as best I can to help you navigate some of the biggest moves, so you guys are knowing the general, basically the direction of the market. We are almost at a top, and this is also where I'm going to, before I compare the move on Euro to this move, I want you to take a breath, because this is the part of the game where the noobs wake up and the bag holders start coming out. And by that, people who shouldn't be in the markets, who are in the markets, and they're going to start entering the markets at tops, and they're going to get snuffed out. Okay? They're going to get stuffed out. There could be spikes down into this area, all the way to the low even, if we are settling here at 4.82. And they're going to be buying down here because they're like, oh, well, I don't want to miss the next bull run. I don't want to miss the next bull run. I got to be in the market. And they're going to get in, and they're going to start FOMOing at the top. They should have been buying when markets were low here, or even up here at the foundational areas. There was even clues back on June of 2023. We saw the health coming in. We saw the first weaknesses coming in November of 2021, and we saw the health coming back in towards October and November of last year. And these are moves that you guys have my YouTube videos about these things. So these are the general health in the market, and you're going to see lots of massive people who are like, oh wow, Bitcoin's finally making new tops, I'll buy it now. They don't buy it low and sell it high. They buy it high and hoping to sell it higher, and it's going to be a little bit detrimental. Okay, many months ago, the Lord started speaking prophetically to certain people in our communities, telling them they have to be ready to get ready to sell at a certain time in the future. There's going to be a move, and you got to be ready to sell. But if you're not emotionally prepared, it's going to be hard for you to exit some of your positions when those times comes. And as we can see, we're getting very close. All right, now at this time, I'm going to compare these two charts. Okay, so I'm going to take this picture, and I'm going to compare this chart with a euro chart. And I'm going to first hide all my data from here. If you're ever drawing your charts and you want to hide your data, just click on your settings button down here in the lower left, and then you can come to hide. You have the option to hide all of your drawings, leave on your indicators, or just hide everything. Okay. I'm going to take this image and I'm going to compare this to a chart. I took a screenshot on my phone, and I said, I'm going to show them this on Monday. This is an old chart. This is an old chart of euro. I found this screenshot on my phone a long time ago. Okay. Years ago is when I took this chart image. And I was going through my old life, and this is an image I found from a screenshot I took. Now, the date from here is 2000, and this is an area we're going to be primarily focused on, 2008 to 2012 onwards, okay? And you may not see it just yet because we have to flip the chart upside down. And I'm going to flip it and invert it right now in an art app. One moment. I'm going to flip it upside down. And yeah, I think that's about right. Okay, so now that I flipped this chart upside down, it's an old euro chart. I'm going to zoom in about right here, and I'm going to point out these three areas. This chart looks very familiar to me in the sense that even though this is old on the weekly chart, this is what I see. We see a flat line. Oops, let me get a pen. Here and here, we have a strong flat about these areas. Okay, and this is how I suspect primarily this move is going to happen. I think what's going to happen is the same thing that happened on this chart. Price broke above these areas. Hold on, I'm gonna mute Ian one time. Price broke above these areas, just like it did on USDT.D. We came up, not exactly on a parallel curve, but pretty close to it, something like this. Similar to this move, 1, 2, okay? And then we're gonna come back down. We should be coming in this area to the old flat, and that's the same move that that's happened, that we have been expecting over the past few years, to our monthly support. Now this is on a weekly chart, so this takes a long time, and over years this is what's been happening, and we're coming down to these old flats. But look at what happened at that old flat. We stayed there for a short time. This is a weekly chart, so what, a couple months, and then reverse, strong reverse. When this chart goes down, Bitcoin goes up. When this chart goes down, up. When this chart goes up, Bitcoin goes down. So it would have been like this move. And when this chart went up, it went up on this kind of parallel curve afterwards. It's very possible that we're going to see this move play out on this chart. And the other thing I can see about this chart is that we got close to falling, came up once, and then came back down again. Now, same thing happened here on this chart as well. Knowing our target line, we came down close to the line here in January of this year, and then came up, hit the tiger line, and then came back down and hit it properly. Guys, this is an upside down view of a chart that I found on my phone back from 2021. Okay, there it is. Isn't that amazing? You're supposed to say, wow. That's what you're supposed to say. Wow is what you're... Thank you, Wayne. Thank you, Wayne. I think the Lord highlighted this during that time because I was praying. I told you guys this was just the night before last, on Saturday night. And I was like, I felt like I needed to look at that chart. And I looked at it and I said, man, that chart sure does look familiar. And I'm looking at it and then I was like, it sure looks familiar when I flip it upside down. I would like to show the group when I look at it upside down. And it is the same thing. Anyway, what I'm suspecting is that you're going to see the same way that when we flip this chart upside down, we went up to these areas. I think we're going to see a very similar thing, although it's not going to look exactly the same because the foundational areas, it is on a downward curve, but it's a little bit different for this one. If we were to connect these ones, it's almost a flat, maybe even at an upward angle slightly, which means there's more room for that euro. But on this one, the recovery is on a downward slope. So this is the one we're really concerned with. Again, this is why I'm putting like X marks the spot type of thing. Okay. We're looking to come up and then reject. Okay. Do I have any other questions regarding these things?
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah.
So what the USDT.D still falling down.
Mm-hmm.
And then I see Bitcoin been constantly going up. But what's strange is the alts really aren't going up. They're still sitting there in like a dead zone and moving a little bit. So do you think we'll have a little bit of an altcoin run here towards the end or not? Because it just seems like Bitcoin's the one that has moved a lot when the USDT.D has come down. That's the question. That's the alts are like stagnant.
That's a great question. So Wayne brings up a fantastic point. Wayne's World said alts are stagnant in this season. For the most part, they've been barely moving. Okay, they've been barely moving. But some cryptos, they did make some massive strides. So what happens to the context of the story? Now, when I first started looking at USDT.D, I started seeing a very direct inverse correlation to the market when it came to many things. But I think somewhere around 2021, we stopped seeing a lot of the alts respond as strongly to the market crash. Now, to the market crashes or booms. I started seeing, I said, that's interesting. And I think it was around 2022 that we actually started really taking the gravity of what this started meaning. And we started seeing that this is it's affecting cryptos, but in a weird way. Let me give you an example. When Bitcoin had a flash spike, the alts and everything had a big spike. Almost every alt had a spike. But when Bitcoin was more in weakness territory, the alts were just going down a little bit. It was almost as if they had power over the market, but its power over the market was greatly diminished. Now, if we combine it with recent prophecy, Prophet Robin had prophesied, I want to say about a month or so ago, that eventually Bitcoin, a lot of the people, the major players who were in Bitcoin, a lot of the market share would go out of them and they would start putting their money into these other obscure coins or altcoins, what we may know them, or smaller projects. We're going to see like the Doge and ADA and SHIBA and other stuff that maybe not as, hugely traded. We're going to see even smaller coins affected. And I think you could say Doge is big, but we're talking about other maybe altcoins, stuff that's more obscure. They said they're going to move a lot of that money into some of these other projects, and therefore the power would be even more diminished. So what is the evidence? The The evidence that we're seeing of the story is that the shakeouts are not greatly affecting all the cryptos. I used to say all the time, what happens in this market happens in all the crypto markets. But I stopped saying that. I said primarily Bitcoin. But Bitcoin has a big share. When this chart goes up, Bitcoin goes down, and generally most of the cryptos. But this is going to be greatly diminished. And the evidence for this last season is as such. Wayne said it perfectly. Hey, the alts have been a little stagnant, even though Bitcoin has had a push. So what does this mean? I would suggest to us that when Bitcoin goes down in those times, look for some of these altcoins to start maybe moving in the opposite direction. We can't guarantee it, but it's definitely something worth our radar. Another thing we heard prophetically about 2 years ago is that when Bitcoin falls, you're going to see SHIBA have a big run. I heard that about 2 years ago. I don't know if anyone remembers that. It was a little over 2 years ago. It was one of the first prophecies I heard, that SHIBA should have a run during the time when Bitcoin falls. I said, that's very interesting because we're very close to Bitcoin changing directions and course. And the other thing I noticed about SHIBA is in one of the strongest, or has been in one of the strongest positions. And there's another set of health that's on SHIBA. And at this time, we're going to look at SHIBA. Let me update this.
Can I make a comment?
Yeah.
I've also, back up what you're saying, I've also heard it reinforced that altcoins aren't going to run until Bitcoin is done with its top. Also, it's interesting, again, I'm on my phone, so I can't see your chart, what you're doing with that Bitcoin, and you did Euro, I believe.
Okay.
Somebody today mentioned that Bitcoin hit the top on its Japanese yen chart.
Really? Bitcoin measured in Japanese yen?
Yeah.
Very interesting.
I'm going to try to jump on the computer now so I can see what you're doing.
Let's now look at SHIBA. I think SHIBA's going to spike down when Bitcoin goes down. But ultimately, I don't think it's going to lose its position. I'm still suspecting that SHIBA is not going to lose its position. So what is the position we're talking about? The position I talked about is a very strong parabolic. This is why I've been so excited, SHIBA, because this parabolic was along this yellow track. I've already highlighted for us, and I showed you the area on which I'm looking to buy. And this is the area that I began to buy SHIBA. It's in this territory, specifically along the bottom right there. Those are the prices I wanted. And I got those prices. I got some of the best SHIBA prices. 0.00008. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 zeros, 8. And all of you guys who are in dive, some of you guys got those prices because that's when I said this is what I want to buy. SHIBA has a strong ability based on our Tiger calculation to move up to 0.000025, which is just and massive. It's 300%, something like that from the bottom. From these areas up there, only 180%. In the story, 180%. If we're able to build above that area and build up here, on top of that, I know that's the next sign that SHIBA should have another run up to here. Now, Prophet Robin recently prophesied that he saw SHIBA doing really well, and he saw some higher numbers for there. And here's one at 0.00034 is one number we have, and that's just massive. And the other thing is that based on the map and the foundational area here, placing it at the core, I can see that we should be hitting 0.00008 as a top, which means price should actually be bouncing in this area. And if we break above that 0.008, I also know that's a big deal. And from there, we have permission to start hitting higher targets, such as the first camel hump and this number, and then finally all the way up here at 0.001. And it's not even a penny. That's just prices. That's a possible phantom if we're using the monthly chart, and this would be our possible phantom that's up here. So we've already plotted some of these areas out on the map, and these all these numbers are still available on our website. Okay. We just type in SHIBA and it should pop up. Oops. But I will include the screenshot so you guys remember these numbers specifically on top. So you can know when you're taking profit on SHIBA, when it's time to get back in or increase your position. But be careful just increasing your position when you're at a top, Okay, wait till there's new structure that's in. In addition to that's the weekly chart, there's a smaller energy that we can see, and the smaller energy is that there's been a downtrend on SHIBA from here to here. Okay, so we're using that area to know when the health should come in, and the health came in approximately on February 7th and February 8th. Okay, that was when we should go up. Now, we've been knowing the bottoms, and I didn't really care too much because we were so close to the bottom that I wanted to get those lowest prices anyway, but I knew we shouldn't really move until this foundational area is broken. We drew it in dotted line. We call that a watch line, something we're watching more closely on the midterm. And then from here, the health came in, and I believe we're going to be making our run up 2.000010. And if we're able to clear this on the weekly chart, and it's going to look like price breaking above, then we're looking now to go much higher. So there will be one more time to buy SHIBA. If you didn't jump in if you didn't already jump in at the lowest, there's another price you can jump in at the higher 107. I don't know if we're just going to do that right now and go to those areas, or we're just going to reject at the top. But most likely, I think we're going to break above. But for now, we still have to take each trade in its stride. The first trade is only from here to here. That's it. That's the first trade. Second trade is when we're above there. Then we can get in SHIBA again. Okay, there's a step up along this path at these prices. And that might be something worth watching. 0.000016 to 0.000018. This might be a clue as what price is doing during that time. But ultimately, I'm really expecting us to get all the way up to there, to that red area, 0.000025. Okay, so that's my game plan. And it is possible that the reason I'm mentioning this is because the prophecies, the data, it's all pointing to these things happening. But let's talk about a more probable effect. Okay, this is where I want you to think practically. Put the story together with the context in USDT.D and the move and the prophetic and everything. Let's put it together. USDT on its way to the final area, maybe just a little below, just like the old Euro chart. All right, here we go. So now what we're going to do is we're going to look at this story in context, okay? In context, this is what's happening. USDT.D is about to reverse prices for Bitcoin, and that will affect the alt. But as we've seen in this last season, a lot of the smaller coins and a lot of the altcoins are really only experiencing the shakeout effect, but they're not having a detrimental effect. Combining that with prophecy that moves like SHIBA is supposed to happen during the time when Bitcoin falls can start telling us that the evidence is matching the prophetic. The evidence is that the Bitcoin's losing its power to affect everything. And about 3 or 4 days ago, I told some people, and I told Melody, I said, I think that what's really going to happen is that when Bitcoin experiences a large move in the opposite direction, which is down, I think it's going to shake SHIBA. But ultimately, SHIBA's not going to lose its major position, which is being in this territory here along this parabolic. But it will affect it. How will it affect it? I believe it's going to look like this. USDT.D has a few more days, perhaps, of bullishness. I've been excited about this chart because I can read it in real time. I'm like, oh yeah, we can still be bullish today. We can still be bullish today. But it's coming to a head. It's coming to a head where I believe we're going to reverse it in these times and these seasons. And it could be just a few more days. It could be over a few more weeks. But this is the price areas where we're going to have to start considering taking profit on some of the cryptos, or at the very least, Bitcoin. Okay, some of the prophetic numbers that match around these areas are 55,000. My map, I have 53,000 as a possible high. Now look at this. If Bitcoin reverses with just a little bit more bullishness, then SHIBA has a little bit more bullishness in it as well, which means SHIBA should be about right here over the next few days, around 0.0001. That's its natural next phantom. It's a type of phantom based on the Tiger projection. Okay, where we knew that health came in here, and we're going to be bullish up to here. And if price is breaking above that 0.1078, then it has a move up. Thinking about this, Mother May I move up? Yes, you may. For how much longer? Not too much longer. Okay, I can stay out and play a little bit longer until we get here. All right, this is the weekly chart. So SHIBA should be approximately here. And then what's going to happen? Not all hell's going to break loose, but it's going to be a big drop in the markets. And SHIBA should come back down to either its tiger or the original parabolic. Most likely the original parabolic, which is down here. Okay, that original parabolic, I have it already along this yellow curve. That's the curve that everyone's paying attention to. Now, by the way, if you guys are watching this, you say, I don't care about SHIBA. You should care. Not because you have to share with SHIBA, but once you understand what's happening in one coin of that category, or Bitcoin and the USDT, you basically know what's happening in the whole markets. Because what happens in Bitcoin and the USDT generally affects the rest of the markets. And you can use this as a barometer for what's happening for you. Okay, so whatever coins you're trading, it's just basically the same concept when it comes to crypto, many times. So anyway, I think that if SHIBA is allowed to come back down, it will experience a big drop. But ultimately, looking at this from a technical perspective, I don't think it's going to lose its position by closing underneath this area. At the very least, it may come back down into this little crevice, and that is the crux of this yellow parabolic and this blue flat. They extend out, and I'm going to show you. The blue extends about right here, and the yellow extends about here. Let me make it really big so you guys can see. And they meet together approximately here. You guys see that? This crypto may come back down into these areas, but as long as we're not trading on the underside of here, I am not going to be bearish SHIBA. In fact, I'm going to be doing the opposite. If SHIBA is only coming down here, I'm going to be buying up cryptos and buying up SHIBA. Again.
What price is that?
For SHIBA, the exact price is either 0.000008 or this one down here, approximately 0.000080. So 87 or 80. And I will include this. So you guys can look to see when prices are in these ranges, you can know that everything's normal for most altcoins or for certain things. Now, some coins are going to be affected a lot more, especially if they're in a weak position. There were a few cryptos we saw that are really weak, and I think those ones are going to be really hurt. But for the most part, SHIBA can take a hit this bad and still keep on coming. It's when it's down here that you have to worry. And I've already given you that months ago, that area, okay? This is the area of danger down here. For the most part, we're not in that area of danger, okay? And I'll make it in reds, and I'll make it real thick so you guys can see. That's when we have to be concerned about this crypto. But I don't think we have to be concerned at all. And we have until September of 2024, by the way, to worry about that. September of 2024, okay? All of these will move down these tracks. And we have backup tiger support, by the way. If all hell breaks loose and the move really affects, and most likely if we come down, we're going to come down to that 53 number, 000005, and then we're going to bounce up to that flat on the underside, and then we're going to go down. But I'll get out of SHIBA if that's the case. I'll take a loss if that's the case. If I see us rounding and building up here, I'll get out of SHIBA even if I take a loss. But for now, I'm risking it for the biscuit, and I may want to take profits on SHIBA in a few days or when USDT.D is in position. Around that time, I may take it because it's going to affect a lot of the markets, and I'm just going to sit in probably a cash position and wait for another entry. So that's money from here to here, which wasn't too much. I was hoping to get above it during the time, but there's no more time. There's no more time left. This is the USDT.D map. We are almost there. Okay, almost time to reverse. But not yet. There's still more bullishness. Okay, and remember what we covered today. Also in the recap, we looked at a very old Euro USD chart. We flipped it upside down, and we flipped it around. And when we did, we can see that this exact same pattern has happened before. Okay, in the exact ways. With that first pullback where we almost were there, USDT.D was exactly the same. Exactly the same. And I think what's going to happen is we're going to just come and touch that flat and reverse. And that's exactly what has happened on Euro in that time. This was the Euro USD flipped upside down. And the Bitcoin was, and the USDT.D chart map was exactly the same as well. The flat, we almost came down, went back up to the tiger line, and then we are now almost here. So alarm bells ringing out. You are so blessed because you guys get to know what's happened before it happens. You can take your profits.
So, are you saying that because SHIBA is in a position of strength,
Yes.
that it may not fall like a rock like a lot of other coins that don't have the strength? Is that kind of what you're saying?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Okay.
Because
Now,
it's in a position of strength. It may not fall like a rock, like a crypto that may be weak.
So what on your chart that you just had with SHIBA, you're showing that you could fall down to 5088 to 5080, and then you also showed a blue line that had 5 zeros and 64. It could also possibly fall down to that too. And if it goes below that, you're in trouble, and if it stays above that, we're okay.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Okay. If you go below that, you're in trouble. And if you're closing below that, and I'll be here. I'll be here when those days happen, so you guys.
So that would be like the last safety net of 5 zeros, and let's say 6465. If it can stay there and not go any lower.
Yeah, as far if we're closing below those areas for the week on like the weekly chart, I'll be looking to go down, and that means that prophetically this may be the different season of crypto, which is the crash, the big crash, and I think that's the one that's going to be the crash that should lead us down to zero. I personally don't think that's going to be the case right now or happen. I think it's going to affect the markets a lot, but I don't think ultimately it is that time. I think the very large crash that is going to happen will be this move up here. Let me show you. Right here. I think that's going to be the mother of crashes right there. On USDT.D. You guys know, as I always tell you, when this chart goes up, Bitcoin goes down. It's the opposite. It would look like this. Which means we still have some room for bullishness. And the next real weakness that's going to crash the markets, the confirmation will be here. There will be another clue somewhere in the market because somewhere we're going to need to get reversed back down again. But I haven't identified it just yet. But I will know when we're there. That's all you get. I think that means that there is still going to be a time of bullishness after this current dip. Okay, we may play and bounce around and then finally we'll pop up. And that's it. And that means we could just phase through and health and weakness will appear sometime in the future. This is like 2028, 2027, something like that. In the year 2028, 2027. That's saying that's the maximum it could happen. If all price did was stay the same, you'll see weakness enter that time. But the price doesn't just change the same. So we're talking to the next few years that we're going to see that big crash. And it may be this very year. We'll know because we have some very powerful areas. It could be when price finally gets to here, that'll be a big pump. You'll see Bitcoin hit 60,000, 80,000, even up to 100 and something thousand. We have a few new maps that show very high numbers for Bitcoin, and that could be the start of the move. But we'll know it. We'll see one move, two moves, and go. Okay, that's why you'll see Bitcoin hit like $11,000, and then you'll see the crash to zero. But this is the zero crash up here. Okay. Yes, sir.
Oh, sorry. Good morning.
Yes.
Did I hear you say that this could happen like around June for the lower crash? Like
the zero crash?
I guess 10,000 area or
yeah,
lower?
I didn't say June. I said in 2028 if all price did was stay the same. As far as the timing of the crash goes, I don't have that yet. We do know that over the next few months we should see the reversal and the big hit of Bitcoin down to the 28,000, but I'm expecting personally on my map only 32 to 36,000. Okay, but it's possible it's going to be a big hit, and then USDT will be in this spot right here, which will be time again to buy. So there'll be time to buy. If we were looking at it like this, it may look like this: sell, buy, and then we'll sell again in these areas, but we'll be able to watch it. we'll be able to watch it happen word for word or line for line, cell by cell. Does that make things simple?
Yes.
Yeah, you guys can play. But yeah, you've had time to play, and the time to play is almost over for Bitcoin. But I'm very curious. The other thing is I'm going to be looking at is I'm going to be very excited if I see SHIBA rise during the time Bitcoin falls, because then that means that the power of Bitcoin really is dead, so to speak, and confirmed that people will no longer be looking at Bitcoin for the barometer. But that means that cryptos that have been manipulated or suppressed and will finally have a chance to shine. Now, this was important because during the move of 2021, where we saw weakness enter Bitcoin and USDT.D, we were expecting a lot of markets to take a big dip and hit. And we saw a down move for almost the past, 2 years, since 2021 of November. We saw a lot of cryptos go down when Bitcoin went down overall. If people were upset, Prophet Robin said a time will come when people will realize how much manipulation there was in the market. And one of the ways that there's manipulation, and there's lots of ways, but one of the primary ways there's manipulation is by the printing of Tether, stabilizing the price of Bitcoin, and using that to keep prices down. And so it's like everything has to go through Bitcoin. It's almost like the petrodollar. The United States made a deal way back in, I think it was like the 80s, maybe 70s, that forced the rest of the world to play the oil game, but only through United States dollars. And therefore, by their printing, they could actually manipulate the price of oil by manipulating the price of the dollar. Okay, and there was some of the power that they had to control that oil price just because it was tied to their currency. Everybody had to play by those rules. That same thing happened in the crypto market with Bitcoin. And if those rules are broken, then now the game is more free and open, and it's easier to trade. We saw so many cryptos come into position. Even SHIBA had a position over back in a few years ago. There was a strong time when Bitcoin was ready, SHIBA was ready to go up. We saw during I think it was the summer of last year, so many cryptos started moving into positions. But what happened? Bitcoin wasn't ready, and those cryptos ended up losing their positions. Meaning, structurally, they were ready to move. Some of them were coming into health. We saw a few of them were like, ooh, there's some health in here. But then Bitcoin had a bad day, and then some of them went into negative position, into negative structures, and they lost their setups. I said, don't worry about them. And sure enough, they fell. And that was the sad thing, because they were trying to be strong, and you got the big bully keeping everybody down. I think this is what's happening, has been happening in the market, but that power is about to be broken. And we'll know it for sure if SHIBA has a run when Bitcoin falls, and that matches recent profits. Hey, we have a art club meeting on Wednesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, and we're going to meet for Art Club Digital Art. And then WordRoom, Sundays, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Robin said the same thing, says Reina, about SHIBA running when Bitcoin falls. Lisa said, Brandon did give a prophecy about Euro being the first domino to fall before the financial crash. Maybe when Euro crashed, then USDT will crash. Brandon gave a comment, Euro being the first domino to fall. Everything in this video is not financial investment or trading advice of any kind. Everything is just for entertainment, educational, and comedic purposes only. I eat red crayons for breakfast, and trading in the markets carries substantial risk. Never trade more than you can afford to lose, and especially be aware against high leverage trading. Past performance is never indicative of future performance. This is also never medical or nutritional advice of any kind. Okay, let's look at some cryptos for today. Oh, some health is starting to appear. Oh my gosh, we're almost there. Yeah. Okay. A few months ago, I had told you guys about the parabolic health that is in this crypto, okay? I said, listen, prices can go all the way down, and I made this. Do you guys see this symbol right here? Look at that symbol, okay? I said prices can go all the way down. It's very similar to a move that happened in Bitcoin a while back, where Bitcoin had these strong parabolic curves, and even though price was going down, it never lost that structure there, okay? I said, this means that you show it to you. I'm going to show you this again real quick so you understand the concept. Structure's everything. Okay, I'm getting 2 pictures to show you. Bear with me for one moment. Don't panic when I say those words. He said bear. Does he mean bear market? Yes, I do. I'm just kidding. That's one example. There's 2 examples on Bitcoin. Here it is. I'm going to show you 2 images, and I want you to look at these images, and I'll tell you what I see. This is the structure of Bitcoin on the daily chart back from July of 2019 and to all the way to September of 2020. And on this image, I see this structure appearing. If I take my crayon and I mark these tops here, the cores here and here, I can actually start to see, and we need to include that wick, I can actually see some type of parabolic structure along this path. You could take the curve tool and it starts to level out about right here. And where that curve levels out, I pay great attention to. But I'm paying attention primarily to this parabolic shape. All right, so when you see that, price could fall down really low. And you could say, oh, that's bad. That's really bad. But it never lost the structure that's here. What would we have been expecting at this point? We would have been expecting prices, we would have been expecting that parallel to continue and watching for price to build on top of that area. Because once price builds on that area, it's ready to have a large up move. Okay, so I don't really care what happens down here because price could fall all the way down there. And it may find support here, or it may, but whatever the case is, in the future or now, when it builds and breaks above and builds on top of there, it is ready to go up. You understand that? That's the concept of this structure. Everybody got that so far? I'm going to move on. I mentioned this weeks back talking about Luna Classic. Because Luna Classic has parabolic structure based on this core and that core here. And it levels out, and I gave you the price, 00000043. A lot of zeros in a 43. Somewhere along here is when it levels out. And therefore, I don't really care how far low it goes, and I drew that little red symbol before it happened. As that price can go low, we do have some kind of bottom here at 003. And look, we got basically right there, okay? 0000003. And price just happened to use that as a bottom, and then we came back up, matching almost what we drew, right? That's the basic what we drew. I can't really say that's the time to buy, but I can say when price breaks above where that parabolic should level out to, and it would look like here, edit. If SHIBA is able,
Jay.
yes. Sorry. Melody.
Luna, now is SHIBA.
If we're gonna change the name, I'll go into the coding and actually change the name. I'm sorry. We can see.
These are Jay's prophetic words regarding Luna, SHIBA, and now Vol.
Yes, exactly.
Yes,
Three
I
amigos.
agree.
There you go. I like it. Yes, I agree.
It's funny when they take. It's funny when they take my mistakes and they use them as prophetic.
Yep.
Okay. So, back to what I was saying. We can see that when Volt breaks above these areas, especially if it comes back down and rounds, we need to be very bullish on Volt, because that means Volt's going to have its run. And I already gave you that arrow right here, but I'm just showing you guys what's going to happen. And Volt could have a very large run. How large are we possibly talking? I'm glad you asked. Here is some of the map points for resistance on Volt. And these things can happen during the, because it is an altcoin. these things can happen during the Bitcoin crash or Bitcoin drop or at the next high. I think what's going to happen is you're going to see Volt take a shakeout, but ultimately it may not lose its position. First things first, where's our bottom? Our bottom is here on the weekly chart, okay? Do we need to adjust it for the cores? Yes, let's look on the weekly chart and make sure we need to see if we need to adjust it or not. We need to bring it down slightly. Okay, all right. I got some stuff in the way, so I'm sorry. Let's clear out some of these lines.
Just before you clear that line, you notice that it hit that high low line.
Ian, your signal's breaking up pretty bad. That's not.
We thought it was going to drop, but I said.
Ian, can you say it again? We lost your signal.
Any better now?
Yeah, a lot better.
I was just saying that line, that dotted line. I don't know if you remember me
Yeah.
saying that. I felt like it wasn't going to come down as much as that.
At that line? Okay.
I think that was the prophetic one. Or I don't know. Don't know where my line was. But there's
I think your line may have been at this green area, and ours was here.
Oh, right.
So we're gonna draw this on the weekly chart. These are the new adjusted areas. We're here and here is where we're gonna want to draw. I'll just take a quick screenshot for those areas if you guys are looking to draw. Okay. All right. So there's our bottom, and that will be important later if we have to do tiger analysis. Let's delete some of these things that are not on the table. No options available for those. Let's get rid of that for right now. Okay, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to calculate our top. This time we're using the weekly chart line. Let's bring it to the top core here. This was, actually it's down here. Pretty close. Core, and should come down just a hair maybe. It's going to attach for the, we're going to need to use the wick. Trying to find the consistency, which is consistent, and I believe it's going to be here. So it is core wick. So the very first move will be, yeah, that's how I'm going to draw my line. Basically core wick, it could come down a hair. Oh no, yeah. If it doesn't come down because it's a weekly chart, pull it out and then stretch it, and then it should snap into place. All right, so that's where I'm going to draw our two lines, which is our cone shape, okay? And I'll put in the notes, and I know how to do two separate lines. Here we go. Draw. Do it again. It's okay. Let's draw it manually. Draw. Okay, those two I want you guys to draw. All right. For the low side, this will be important because if price is going to hit a low, you already know the price. Just go to that week and you know the low side. It will be along that track. Oops. The top side, it's easy. Just go to that week, which is here, the week, it's February 25th, and then go up to the track. So now we know that price. I should leave this down here. If it's next week and Bitcoin has, and a Volt has a big pump, I want you to look at this price. 0.000010. And then we can also calculate how much money's on the table when that happens. If the move happened now, the money that's available for Volt is 142%, which is pretty good. That's just that move, okay? The other things that can happen is it can break out of its phantom angle, which is down here, okay? This is the, that could be, actually, why does it say phantom? It should say key angle. Oh, yeah, it does say key. Possible mid-phantom, okay, key angle. All right, so above the key angle, which is structures above here, and that could lead us up to the second leg. This is around 400%, and there's a prophetic word that matched that run. So that's possible as well. And that will look something like this. I'll just move this down a little bit further so everybody can see. This image will be important for Volt. If you're taking notes, you'll want to later on write some of these numbers down as prices. Okay? All right, let's go back to that daily chart and extend out and draw our parabolic, which is happening now. Be a little bit more. I'm gonna draw a flat yellow line in this area, and then we can give it a label if you want to. Put some text. This is the area. This is the level area from the yellow parabolic. I am looking for price to build on this line for a very strong Luna Classic move up.
This is Volt.
Volt. Why am I thinking Luna Classic?
Can I take this zoom in moment to be prideful and say that we did actually hit my green line, and that was the lowest price point we got to. My buy order filled at the exact low of the last move, so we hit that exactly. That was based on the fractals.
Good. Yes, you can. Ian has been making very good calls. One of his last recent call was the Matrix AI. We're still in that target zone, and it looks like it's going to hit the top side, but I think it's moved since yesterday. He said it's just moved 73%. Praise God for Ian, man of God, who's the Lord's been leading him a lot to share a lot of some good, bring to his attention a lot of strong moves before they happen. I really want to come back down here, and then I want to buy. Okay? You can buy already now because of these closes. That's healthy. But I want to wait. I want to wait until the structure is in. I want to see us round down. Now, let me ask you a question. Can anyone think of well, of course you can think. Can anyone think of a legitimate area on which Volt may come back down, or a time when Volt may come back down? Does anybody know? If Volt is bullish for the next few days, just say Volt is going to be about right here. Just say it goes up to here. Is there any time that Volt may come down? Does anybody know?
Rounding.
Rounding. Yeah, maybe with rounding. Okay, but why?
The yellow line.
Okay, yeah, so we can come back down to the yellow line, and that would be good. But does anybody have a reason why that might happen?
There's a dotted line
They
there.
would lick their ice cream.
I would say more than any of those reasons. I'll show it to you. The biggest reason gots to be...
They lick their ice cream, comes down, people buy again, and goes right up. I'm sure there's a wording for all that.
Look at this chart. Now, ring a bell?
Gee.
Ring a bell?
Yes.
USDT, right? Bitcoin goes down, everything shakes out, even if they don't lose their position. I already showed that to you guys in the past. Today I showed you how it might look on SHIBA. Now I'm showing you how it might look on Volt today. Because Volt can be bullish because there's still a little bit more room left before USDT is going to reverse. There's a little bit more room, which means the whole markets are bullish, and so Volt has taken this opportunity to sneak up as well and play Mother May I. Okay?
Do the tiger stuff, Jay. There's this right here, what we're looking at, but also on the weekly chart.
Yeah.
The purple and the green line, there's tiger
Analysis, yes, and we can do that if you want to, but we're not going to do it just yet. But I'm just letting you guys know the biggest thing that's going to happen is in the next few days, or possibly this week or very soon, you're going to see USDT reverse. On Euro, it took a few weeks to happen, so it could take a month or two, maybe April, whatever. But we are almost at a place on the map location for cryptos to reverse, or Bitcoin to reverse. And when Bitcoin's affected, I could easily see this coming back down to entry prices. Okay? So just say it happens on Thursday of this week. Okay? It's not Thursday. But just say it happened on Thursday, somewhere around here. And then Volt goes up. Now Bitcoin has a really bad day. A lot of markets start going down. And Volt's probably going to go down too. Even if it doesn't lose its position. Because it's in the right side of price. Meaning, like what Wayne said. You're telling me because it's strong, it's not going to drop like a rock when everything drops like a rock? Most likely. It depends on where it's at. If Volt was only right here, and the markets crash, then this is the support. But if Volt happens to be up here already in a healthy side of price, then I can easily see Volt coming back down and still being healthy by virtue of being in the right spot. Do you understand that? Okay? So Volt has two reasons to be healthy. The upward angle support and the parabolic. Those two lines we drew. We drew one that's a foundational angle going up on the weekly chart and the parabolic. So I don't care really right now to buy Volt. It can go up high. I need it to go up high so that when the crash or when the big dip happens, it will still be in position after the storm is settled. Fully. Hopefully. And that's if it survives, and it should survive. I think it's going to survive. Otherwise, you just want to buy right now, and you can make some money while there's still bullishness. But yes.
What's the price point, Jay?
The price point is 00000041. That is the healthy part. One moment.
So I got a question.
Yes.
So now Volt and SHIBA look like a similar pattern. They're both coming into health, which is good, and those two are prophetic coins. Is it possible maybe later on you can take a look at Luna Classic? Is that one in the health? Is it possible the prophetic coins might be in position to do something at some point too? Just a thought.
Okay. Yes. The question is, would Luna Classic act in the same way? And I think we're going to take a detour and look at the structure because it should be a similar thing. I am going to put my curves on here because I can absolutely see this happen, especially if it's only a shakeout that is affected. The two areas are top parabolic and the other area is down here. So if we were drawing it, we can draw it like this. You move this text. Okay. That's what I would expect. Oh, I need to give you that price point up here.
Is there another structure as well that I can see another potential structure that it broke out from? I don't know what your terminology you use, but it's...
Use your terminology. I can understand a lot of it.
Okay, yeah, so I guess it clearly broke out of that falling wedge type structure. That's clear, isn't it? I think that's what I was mainly seeing, really, that kind of falling wedge. So that was my only question, but it's clearly...
There is backup support. Okay, and the backup support is going to be our tiger line. Let me draw it real quick. I will draw the tiger projection for you. It should be, we have one that's been not active, two not active, this one is active. And, ooh, it's on the underside though. Okay, so it's all still within the bullish side up here. Nothing is down here in this territory. So if prices are entering that territory, it would be bearish. Price would lose its setup. We need another setup. But most likely, I don't think that's going to be the case just yet. But if we're entering the underside of here, that might be weak. We'll have to come back down to some, maybe the hot sword cut over here or other areas that we'll identify. Okay, but as it is, I want price to be high right now for Volt before Bitcoin takes its tumble, so that when the dust settles, if Volt is still on here, Volt is still standing. Okay, and that's how. So we want it to be high right now, really high, so it can take the hit. It's like showing up its defenses before the flood happens. Okay.
I'm gonna dare to speak. It's gonna hold.
Ah,
I'm gonna be brave. It's gonna hold.
good.
And there's a whale in the group that's buying it as well, so it's starting to go up.
She put in the chats, Volt is a hidden gem. Don't be fooled. It will rise. Jehovah spoke my ears. It will drop all zeros. Amen. And that was on February 19th of 2024. Oh, that's today.
I just put the date for today. When the Lord speaks to me, I started to put the dates on it. Yeah. And the Lord had spoken to me before. I don't know if it's recorded on a Tuesday night with the guys that it's gonna rise to $5.
Whoa.
Yes,
What?
it will. And Marco and Michelle and Sue can attest to that.
Preach.
It will be definitely within our interest to have some of.
It's a hidden gem, yes, sir.
To have some Volt.
And remember, go ahead.
And this is an answered prayer because the Lord spoke to John, Superfood. His heart is there, and the Lord is answering his prayer. He spoke that directly to him, and he can attest to that.
Wow.
One of the days that the Lord was speaking to me, and he was speaking to everybody. He spoke that over Johnny. Or Johnny Boy. That's the way he
Johnny
calls
Boy.
him.
Oh, Johnny Boy.
He can call me whatever he wants, and I'll take it.
There's an Irish song, oh, Johnny Boy.
Johnny Boy. Yes, sir.
I call you rich superfood.
Hey, and don't forget that, remember, those 3 coins we're talking about, SHIBA, Volt, and Luna, they have unbelievable burning mechanisms built into those coins. Unbelievable burning mechanisms that shall come at some point. And then that would make that coin, when you cut down a lot of that supply, it's going to make that price go up just by that alone. So just remember, those have huge burning mechanisms built in.
So I want to say something that the Lord is speaking to my ears right now. People are sleeping, not like sleeping on Vault, because they think about SHIBA and they think about Luna. And they're waiting on those. And I see a white dog, like Vault, running up front. I see, it's like seeing a picture of him just sitting down and looking at everybody like, you're missing out on me. And the Lord is reminding me of the word that he gave me of that dog it was like this heavy man, all built up, looked like a bodybuilder, and the head was like a pit bull, but I know it's Vault. You know when you just know that? And all of a sudden, he took this big breath and just burst out of his mouth the breath. And I know it's the breath of God, and that's Vault. It's gonna come out of nowhere.
And Kryptonite had a dream about it too, where he walked through these doors. There was a big dining table, and he looked down and seen a white dog laying there sleeping. And all of a sudden, it was him and some other guy, and he walked in. He's seen this white dog. All of a sudden, you ever see a werewolf when somebody turns into a werewolf, muscles bulging, and that's when he seen that dog, and he turned around and started running for it. He said, I was running, but I had a bunch of gold in my hand. He said, me and another guy were running for our life because he saw this thing get huge, and then that was his dream.
Wow.
It's been very clear what the Lord has showed. I didn't know about who was it, 365? I knew after the Lord showed me that about, and it concurred with what he was seeing, because it was like parallel. Don't sleep on Vault. You're going to be so surprised. And a lot of people are very asleep with it. And the Lord wants his children in this group to prosper. That's why he has, and I say in a very humbled and, oh, well, me dan ganas de llorar. Makes me want to cry. He's giving it. He's talking to us. And he tells me all these things because he wants us to prosper. And don't buy into all these other coins. Buy into the ones that the Lord is speaking to you and he's giving you confirmation. Once in a blue moon, if somebody that the Lord speaks to their ears tells you some things, because the Lord wants to bless you. And he's giving you direction. We say, Lord, give me wisdom. Lord, give me direction. Lord, this, Lord, that. But we let it pass by. Just because it doesn't go up now, it doesn't mean it's not going to happen. It means because the Lord wants you to load up. Because when it explodes, he wants us to be zillionaires. Unbelievable wealth. But for that unbelievable wealth to come, we have to be obedient. He will speak to us. And he says, listen, my children, listen to me, because I want to bless you in such an overwhelming way. Listen to me, he says the Lord. I've given you so many people to be around you with my spirit, with my word of power, with my Ruach HaKodesh. Listen, because my word is more and worth more than gold. Listen, says the Lord. Just don't take note. Listen and do. Be obedient. Ay, santo Jehová, mi alma te alaba, Señor. And he keeps saying Vault. I don't know why he's unvaulted today, but he is. The Lord is vaulted today. Hallelujah. Praise the Lord. Sorry, Jay, I took over. I'm sorry. The Lord takes over. I'm sorry.
And one more thing, in the small group that we have of 30-some people, or maybe bigger now, what's the chance of us having 2 people have pets named Volt? I mean, really? And that Volt's not even a normal pet name. You know what I mean? It's just not a normal Fluffy and whatever. But what's the chances of us having 2 pets in this community named Volt?
Preach, Wayne, preach it.
I'm telling you.
This is before it all happened. You're right.
Yes, so you got Red Volt, and then I got a kitten. The second kitten I got his name was Volt from when I adopted him, with a white face. And Robin prophesied that night when I got home about Volt. You know, I told the story a million times. God is telling us you can buy low now, because it doesn't matter if you buy at 35 or 45 or whatever. But it goes up crazy. It doesn't. I think it's insignificant at that point.
Yes.
I have a lot of Volt. I can tell you. You know why? Because
Great point, Wayne. Great point on that.
But some of us, a lot of us do not. I want to say that Royal says there's no sleeping people here, but there's a lot of people here who do not have Vault.
Oh?
They don't.
Then
I can tell you, I am the daughter of the Most High, and my name is Janet.
So there is a few places we can look to get this. One is now. Another may be even after a shakeout on Bitcoin. If Janae's saying it's going to hold, that's a very significant thing. We got evidence in the data that it should hold. The parabolic top, the light blue bottom, and there's a backup tiger lines here. I'm not going to draw them because they're all in the same area, but this would reinforce this area that it should hold. And I would expect that these are great prices, but since prices are already here anyway, you may want to consider getting some now, especially if it's matching up with what we feel in our community, the JSON communities, that what the Lord is leading us. Now, I had a dream where I made a dream not too long ago. I made a video not too long ago where I talked about Volt, where I saw Volt sleeping at an angle. And then, no, I'm sorry. Volt was in it was like I want to say a veterinarian type of place, like a hospital of some kind. But Volt was about to run a big race, and there was all these other dogs. And Volt took off. And he was the first one to come back. And there was no more other dogs running at that time. And then I found him sleeping at an angle before the second run. And in the second run, I got to go with him on that second run and lead him. So that means that maybe, I think prophetically, I may not see the largest run that he does. So I may not see how far he's going to run. I have on my map, maybe these prices up here along this top. I don't exactly know or see that strong resistance on the map. Okay? But I can see where the next support should be, and it's at an angle. So there's 2 big runs that this dog is supposed to do. It's possibly going to be higher, and then maybe we'll get lower here. But I don't see exactly all of that run. But I will see the next one at an angle. And try. I mean, he was in the corner of the wall. Red Volt. He was slipping on the corner of the wall. He's the big white. It's not too big, but he's the white dog. You guys seen? Like my look. Where is? That's him in the background. And he's sleeping there. So
that's exactly what I saw, but sideways. Sitting sideways. Mm-hmm. Hey, look at me.
I think this is confirmation that there's going to be a very large, I think my dream was confirmation there should be a very large 2-run move on Volt that's going to seem very large. And he's going to take out, and he's going to probably take off before all the other dogs. What are the other dogs? What's the other dog? Doge. There's a few other dog coins in the markets, but people look at these as some of the main primary ones. And Volt's going to be like this little lesser known dog that's just going to take off and be filled with the breath of God and have a strong move. He may be...
Do you remember when we were at Christina, everybody was at Christina's house, and Volt was in the water?
Yeah.
The Lord is reminding me of that, and I'm seeing him in the water. He loves the water. That clear water represents Holy Spirit. There's something about that project. Don't ask me what it is. I don't know what they call the white paper. I know nothing. There's something about that project that the Lord has put his hand on, and it's going to rise. And it's like you said, it's got Holy Ruach HaKodesh Spirit on it. And when that breath comes out, there will be no return back. It's just gonna go up and up. And I don't know, the other thing that the Lord is telling me, and he just reminded me, because while you guys were talking, he reminded me, you know that 30 benchmark for big, I know it's going to hit 55. That is for sure. But the Lord also spoke 30, 30, 30, and he's reminding me again of 30. I think it just might go back to 30 to take a breath. And then go back up. I don't take me that for certain. But I hear 30, and 30 is that, it's the Lord's benchmark. So it might have something to do with Vault. What? I don't know. I'm just telling you as I hear it. Maybe you could see it in the charts or whatnot. And I just want to remind everybody about that. Also that the Lord spoke that 30, 30, 30. Bitcoin at some point is going to hit 90. And then it's going to get 100 and a 120. It might touch the 20. The 120. I don't know if it's going to stay there or what, but I know it's going to go up there. And I understand that it's just going to touch it.
The 130? Did you just say 130?
120.
120? Do you mean $1.20?
120,000.
100
K.
What?
K. Yes.
Wow. I don't know if we should. I don't know if we should write. I don't know if I should write that because.
It's okay.
No. I thought it's BTC.
Yeah, that's
Jason.
Bitcoin.
Yeah, BTC.
Okay.
Yeah, so if she's saying 30, 30, 30, it could be 30, then 60, then 90, then 120. Right?
Yeah.
Wouldn't that be 30?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
There you go.
Yeah, that's...
Another reason on why this is not the big crash. This is a dip, it's going to be a big one, but I don't think it's the end yet. I think there's still bullishness that's still in here. Now, you guys remember, let's talk about this just a few days ago since we're on this topic. Just a few days ago, I think it was on Saturday. Today's Monday. This would have been on Wednesday then. I did a video on Bitcoin where I showed you the parabolic top on the monthly chart, and it's on this chart right here. And this is only seen on the monthly chart. This has been last for a number of years, here back since 2011. The parabolic move has 129 as mid-phantom. Right there. People would say this is astronomical number, but it's within the parabolic range. See? I'm not making up this track. This is there. If price were to break above there, it could hit all the way up to 858,000 is what I said on that Wednesday video. Now, I'm not saying it's going to, but the possibility is there because the health is in this market. Health is shown here on March of 2023, and we've been going up ever since. I don't think, therefore, is what I put in that video report. I said I don't think that this is the crash of crash. I used to think that. But looking at this chart and comparing the data, I don't see that. And that's what I put in my report. I still see that we can hit low, but we're still going to be going up. There's still support, either along this parabolic or at the phantom, or at this support right here, somewhere along in red, and that's around 30,000. So the parabolic for this month or next week, it's going to be exactly 22,000. And then a higher supports we got at, what, 29 and such. See. Wait. Hold on. Yeah. We still have room for a big crash to actually happen, but it's actually underneath here. And that's what I really believe. I believe that when price is trading below these, and you can see it in my report, it's on our website, just type in Bitcoin, you're going to see that in my last report, when I show about this chart, if Bitcoin gets under here, that's when I'm really going to be bearish on Bitcoin. That's the crash to zero. But until then, it is very possible we'll hit 120,000 or 129 area, because it's there on the map. We can see it. It's not that hard to see it. Because she is saying 129 on this crypto, I'm going to put it. If it was other, I would want to keep it secret.
120.
120? All right, let's put this in a prophetic, and let me see, can I type on here? Let's type in, let's move it to exactly 120.
Do you remember the word that when the Lord gave me that 30 and I keep seeing that it keep hitting that, because I hear clacking, and it's like the lifters from a car. It goes, it doesn't have any oil.
Yeah.
So that's like what I hear. And then the Lord showed me another vision farther later on, when you see an oil rig pumping, and they're going to pump it because it was going to be, the Lord spoke to me and showed me that vision of an oil rig. And it's like they're pumping oil with BTC because of everything that they're doing with the, the F, what is it they're called? F in the market. What are they called? Oh my gosh.
Tether or?
ETFs.
Okay.
ETFs. They're doing the ETF thing. So we know it's the white hats. So they're pumping, and I saw they're all pumping and pumping. They want to pump it as high as they can. So and then later on, and I was afraid of saying it, I'm being honest, because sometimes it's hard to say these things. The Lord said 100, and then he said, Janet, 100 is going to go to 100, and it's going to go 120, and then it's going to be 30, 30, 30. He reminded me, he said, Janet, you remember when I told you 30, 30, 30? And it also has to do with, you remember when he gave me that word with the blackjack cards? And then the word with 45, and then 10 is the word. It all comes together. It all comes together.
What's very interesting is that a lot of the prophetic words circle around Bitcoin, and that seemed to be the theme of today. And the theme of today, we talked about USDT.D. We talked about what the move is. We talked about what it related to SHIBA. We talked about how it could relate to Volt. But the prophecies always seem to go back to Bitcoin. And the reason for that is because a lot of what you're seeing today, again, is the manipulation. What happens in Bitcoin generally happens in the rest of the market. We also talked about the prophecies that said that exact power is going to be diminished and broken at some time. But when Bitcoin hits these things, it seems like the Lord has used many of these things as markers for us to know the times and the seasons for what's supposed to happen. Jesus said, he said, you look in the distance, and if it's red in the morning sky, then you know it's going to rain during the day sometime. He says, you know how to interpret the signs of the seasons, but you don't know how to interpret the signs of the time and the coming of the Son of Man. We can look and see clues that God has given us in nature that relate to something that's going to happen, and seems to be that God has been giving us a lot of clues about Bitcoin. He gave us USDT.D chart to read a lot of the moves, and because of these things, we've been able to track a lot of what's been happening, both from an intel, from a dream perspective, and how it relates to crypto such as Volt, how it relates to SHIBA. I'm thankful for everybody who joined us today. On Wednesday, we're going to come back and visit these charts. I'm going to be working on these over this week on some of them, and we're going to come back and we'll do a new build for maybe one or two of them for a live session tutorials on Wednesday. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to do recaps for those. I want you guys to be in prayer about everything that's happening. Remember the big takeaways from today. Let's talk about some of the big takeaways that we found out today. If you're watching this section of the video today, here are some of our recaps from today. I do encourage you to watch the whole video. We saw that Bit is in an upper parabolic trend shown in these two smaller yellows. Okay, so Bitcoin should be bullish in this time. However, related to the larger story of the USDT.D chart, when this chart goes down, Bitcoin goes up, this chart goes down. They work inversely. And I believe this chart is going to reverse really soon. And it's going to look something like this. On the weekly charts, we can see that there's a little bit more time for us to be bullish. So I'm not bullish exactly today, but I said I was going to make an emergency video, and I did earlier this week. And I believe what's going to happen, is that in a few short weeks or a few short days, this thing is going to reverse and we're going to see a big, large down move. I used to think that this was the beginning of the crash, but after examining more data from my report on last Wednesday, I believe that what's going to happen is there's a large down move and then there's going to be another bullish move. But I can see those territories on where they are in the charts. But as of now, this multi-touch support is really the primary area where price reverses. Price almost got there a little bit a while ago, went up, hit our tiger line, which we were expecting. We knew this months in advance, by the way, this tiger areas. And price rounded nicely, and that means it was bullish for cryptos over the past few weeks. And we should still be bullish, but be careful. The danger's almost in. I compared this today to a flipped up, reversed around chart on euro US dollar from years ago. I found it on my phone and I was like, ooh, I need to draw this, and I drew the straight line for you, and you can see that same move. We went up for a few times just like on this chart, and then we came down and we almost made it to that flat, and we went up here, we almost made it to that flat and went up. It is almost like a mirror image, right? And then we're finally coming down. And here, this one came down as well. It didn't have a backup foundational support. This one also has a backup foundational support. The list goes on and on, guys. And it's all within this area near the vortex, just before the vortex, where prices reverse. And I could easily see, my friends, how price, all these lines are intercepting here. We should be reversing soon. And this reversed. But when this chart goes up, Bitcoin goes down. So therefore, I don't believe there's much more time for profits on Bitcoin. And usually what happens in Bitcoin happens in the rest of the market. We talked about how that power won't always be the case, but it's a dynamic at the very least to shake things up. Some of the biggest questions we heard today were, will it affect the rest of the markets? We saw that when Bitcoin went up, some of these alts didn't move too many. Some of the altcoins didn't move too much. So therefore, it's very possible that those powers are diminished. We combined it with prophetic reports from the past year that talked about prophecies that Bitcoin would have a strong, that SHIBA would have a strong move when Bitcoin goes down. And it's possible we are entering those times because the next crypto we looked at was SHIBA. And we saw that SHIBA was in a strong position. We've been seeing that SHIBA's been in a very strong position ever since it was on the top side of this large parabolic on the weekly charts. So I was maybe a month or so ago, I started making very large calls on SHIBA saying, hey, SHIBA's in a very strong position. And I think SHIBA is going to move up to this point 0.00025 before coming down first, and it has possibilities to move up very high, and it will. And I do think it's going to do very good. We can see on the shorter term that SHIBA still has room to go up over the next few days, and combining this with the dip on Bitcoin, I believe that SHIBA is going to be pushed down. But overall, as long as we're still on top of this parabolic in yellow, it won't lose its position, which means SHIBA can take a hit and still keep on coming and not lose its structural strength that it's set up over the past many months. Okay, that will be important. So SHIBA has room to go up a little bit. Therefore, I think it's going to come back down, and there's going to be another time to accumulate some prices at 0000. Yeah, that's going to be 508. And then 5087 and 5080. Okay, so those are the two areas I really think we're going to get one more chance to get in, and you're going to see it. You're going to see the whole market's down, and everybody's going to be, what's happening? And it's because the Bitcoin is starting to reverse. And the other area I want to buy SHIBA is above here. So we talked about that today. We talked about the foundational area on USDT.D, which means that it will be negative for a little bit of time, maybe even a short time, depending on how quickly it moves. And it's going to look bad, and Bitcoin will fall for a while. But I think ultimately Bitcoin's going to fall to around 30. I think I have on my map 32 and to 36. Some prophetic people are hearing 38. Just as I see the top in the data around 53 for Bitcoin. But some people in the prophetic are saying 55. Okay. I can see that if we get above 7.82, that track along this point on USDT, that should be the beginning of the crash to zero. But I don't think that's actually going to happen yet. I think we're going to bounce at that area, and there's going to be one more big pump. And that's because of the data that we see in Bitcoin. In Bitcoin, I can see there's a larger parabolic that's on the monthly chart, and those tops give us somewhere around 129,000 for mid-phantom. But there's a margin of error, and prophetically we heard 120. Even for a brief time, I can see that price is hitting all the way up to 858,000 in the data, and therefore even if we take a dip, I don't think that's the big crash to zero. I used to think so, but now I don't. Ever since I started seeing this larger parabolic that's lasted over many months, and I showed you guys this in my report a few days ago, but it's like this. And I think you guys will do well to include it in your chart. And I think what's going to happen is once we get below that parabolic and are building there, that's your crash to zero. I can see that easily, which means even though Bitcoin is going to take a big dip right now, don't fear too much. It's going to be short-lived, and then things are going to get back to how they should be with another large pump coming up in the markets. If we see a large reverse in the market, which we will, I believe, then we're going to see another bull move start somewhere when we get back to this foundational area right here. You guys can see that angle, and it's confirmed in the past 1, 2, 3 times on the daily chart. It's on the weekly chart, I think it's only once or twice. Okay, here's the same move on the weekly chart. Core, verification, and then verification with those wicks. I'm paying attention to the angle because that will be the next time you need to load up cryptos, or you need to load up Bitcoin, or whatever you're going to see. If Bitcoin's still moving in the markets during that time, that's when I want to buy again. Okay, I want to be looking to sell soon, and I want to be looking to buy once we're back into these areas. And I think that's ultimately what's going to happen. And then we're going to see a large run from here all the way down, possibly to 3.61. And that's when you're going to see Bitcoin most likely hit a very high number. And everybody's going to be FOMOing into prices during those times, or because they don't, the fear of missing out. They're going to be buying at these tops. And that's when we should also take notice of when we need to take profit. And then the big crash may ensue, or down to those prices. And then if we go on the underside of that parabolic I was showing you just a moment ago, then on that larger Bitcoin chart, then I think what's going to happen is that's when you need to really know that the crash to zero is soon. Okay, even if it's just for a small time, and then the recovery maybe to 11, 12, 13,000, somewhere there is what I can see in my data. We looked at Volt And Volt, health, it just came into Volt. And we've talked about this parabolic. We talked about how it related to Bitcoin in the same manner. We're waiting for Bitcoin to break above this area and then build up. And that was now near in 2021. 2020 and 2021. That's what you can expect when you see a parabolic action like that. But that means price can go very low and still not lose the setup. This was the setup we also saw in Volt. Okay, Volt went down to a number. Thank you, Ian, for prophetically helping us point out these areas. But when we see these things happen, and we can see that parabolic leveling out, now we know where we should be actually looking to get in Volt based on data, and that line is here. Okay, this actually need to be 0000 0041 6041. I think ultimately what's going to happen is Volt is going to be a little bit high because there's still room for it to play and be bullish with all the markets being bullish. But in a few short days or over the next month or so, we're going to see that hit happen and prices are going to reverse for a season. Volt could come down, but ultimately I think it's going to hold on its support of this parabolic and the support in blue. Okay, and I think Janae was said prophetically, Volt should hold. So I think for people who are prophetically trading Volt, I think it's just an amazing coin. I had dreamed about it myself, which talked about in today's video. As we were concluding with Volt, we also had some prophetic words that we should be paying attention to the stronger supports, which should be around 00000036 if we're looking just at the data. Sharon in our group had a word that we should be hitting around 3/4, which is still in that support areas down here. Ian talking about the fractal, said because we were pushing through and spiking through last time, we should be able to spike through either the yellow support or even the blue support and still be healthy just a little bit, which makes a lot of sense. We heard that we need to watch this 31 area as well for a brief spike. It's very possible, given the situation, depending on the severity and impact of Bitcoin reversing in such a strong way for a short time, some of these cryptos will spike down to the lower numbers for a brief time. But ultimately, as long as they're holding, which we heard that Volt is going to hold the line or hold it, then these cryptos are not losing their position, and therefore they should rise. And this might be just a great blessing and a benefit for us who are part of prophetic communities and watching some of these things. And as always, I'm here to help combine the data that I see in the markets with these types of things. All right. Let's conclude today reading the Word of God, and we'll get back to these cryptos this week. I know we have a lot of people who have requested a lot of cryptos, and I do apologize if we didn't get too many of them. Sometimes there's a strong moment where we have to really be paying attention to the larger story, or we have to be zeroing in on some of the prophetic things, but I will do my best to get a head start on these cryptos. We started 1 Corinthians chapter 1, but we're going to read the second part or today. For the word of the cross is folly to those who are perishing, but to us who are being saved, it is the power of God. For it is written, I will destroy the wisdom of the wise, and the discernment of the discerning I will thwart. Wow. Where is the one who is wise? Where is the scribe? Where is the debater of this age? Has not God made foolish the wisdom of the world? For since in the wisdom of God, the world did not know God through wisdom, and it pleased God through the folly of what we preach to save those who believe. For Jews demanded signs, and Greeks seek wisdom, but we preach Christ and Him crucified. We preach Christ crucified, a stumbling block to the Jews, a folly to the Gentiles. But to those who are called, both Jews and Greeks, Christ the power of God and the wisdom of God. For the foolishness of God is wiser than men, and the weakness of God is stronger than men. Wow, even the part that which we would say is a weakness to God is actually one part of His strength. That's amazing. For consider your calling, brothers. Not many of you were wise according to worldly standards, and not many were powerful. Not many were of noble birth. But God chose what is foolish in the world to shame the wise. God chose what is weak in the world to shame the strong. God chose what is low and despised in the world, even things that are not, to bring to nothing things that are, so that no human being might boast in the presence of God. And because of him, you are in Christ, who became to us wisdom from God, righteousness and sanctification and redemption, so that, as it is written, let the one who boasts in the Lord. I think it's amazing how we can see that there's so many people account wisdom as everything, and they don't have any clue on the simplicity of God, how simple God makes things many times. The Lord is the type of one who makes things like the greatest secrets of the world accessible to children. He's the type of God who hides and the powerful secrets in a very simplistic place and location that not many people would ever look. I can say this with 100% certainty that some of the greatest secrets in this world and in this age are found in places where people would never think to ever look. And it's there. It's hidden in plain sight. Look at Samson's great strength. Was right there in front of you the whole time. Look at Jesus himself, who appeared to us. You had all of these Pharisees and scribes who've been studying the word, were looking for the kingdom of God for so long, and when he was there, they didn't recognize him. He came in a lowly manger. He wouldn't be there, but he was there. There's a scripture that I want to close with, and I think it's fitting to these kinds of things. When the Son of Man comes in his glory, with all the angels with him, he will sit on his glorious throne, and before him will be gathered all the nations, and he'll separate the people, one from the other. So this is the final judgment. Okay? And he'll separate the people, one from another, as a shepherd separates the sheep from the goats. And he will place the sheep on his right and the goats on his left. And then the king will say to those on his right, "Come, you who are blessed by my Father, inherit the kingdom prepared for you from the foundation of the world. For I was hungry, you gave me food. I was thirsty, you gave me drink. I was a stranger, and you welcomed me. I was naked, and you clothed me. I was sick, and you visited me. I was in prison, and you came to me." The righteous will answer him, saying, "Lord, when did we see you hungry, or feed you? When did we see you thirsty, or give you drink? Lord, and when did we see you a stranger, and welcome you, or naked, and clothe you? And when did we see you sick, or in prison, and visit you?" And the king will answer them and say, "Truly I say to you, as you did to one of these least of these brothers of mine, you did it unto me." And then it says this, "Then those on his left he will say, Depart from me, you cursed, into eternal fire, prepared for the devil and his angels. For I was hungry, and you gave me no food. I was thirsty, and you gave me no drink. I was a stranger, you did not welcome me. Naked, and you did not clothe me. Sick and in prison, and you did not visit me." And then they will answer, saying, "Lord, when did we see you hungry, or thirsty, or a stranger, or naked, or sick, or in prison, and did not minister to you?" We didn't see you do that, Jesus. And then he will answer and say this, "Yes, you did not do it to me." Oh, he's saying, truly I say to you, you did not do it to one of these least of these. You did not do it to me. As you treated others, that is how you were treating me. And these will go away to eternal punishment, but the righteous into eternal life. Hear what I'm saying. The wisdom of this world is that sometimes the greatest secrets are right in front of your face or hidden in places you would never think to look. And Jesus being right in front of them, they missed it. They missed it. He was right there, and they didn't realize that he was the Son of God right there at that time. Until after the cross. Remember, Jesus said, "Blessed are those who have not seen me and yet believe." And now here we have people in modern day who are saying the same thing. Oh, those foolish Israelites, oh, those foolish Gentiles back then. If I was there, I would have definitely saw that it was Jesus. If it was me, I would have definitely recognized that it was Jesus. But not the case. That's not the case. You know what the case is? The case is that today, in our day and age, we're doing the same things. Because when it comes to other people, we are missing out the truth. The truth is that Jesus is saying, they are here. I am manifesting myself through your neighbors, and how we treat each other, and how we recognize each other, and what we see for them, and what we lack to see. When we look over people, we're going to stand before God on Judgment Day, and we're going to say, Lord, I didn't have an opportunity to take care of you. I would have loved you. And Jesus is going to say, then why didn't you love those around you? Because that was your opportunity. That was your chance to love someone else. And there's going to be no more chance, because it's the last day. It's the day of judgment, or it's your judgment day. And you're going to say, I didn't know how to love other people, Lord. And God say, look around you. There's always an opportunity for you to love someone. Amen? Father, I pray that we would be a people that would not miss the greatest secrets and the greatest wisdom, but that you would come and reveal it to us. Lord, because you have given these things to and revealed them to, as you've said in the Word of God, to little children. Lord, I pray that you would reveal them to us because we're your children. Give us opportunities. Give us wisdom to see you when you're right here in front of our faces. Sometimes you show up in the form of an angel. Sometimes you show up in the form of standing in the clouds with great glory and multitudes of angels. But sometimes you come in the form of the person across from us. Sometimes in the form of our spouse. Sometimes in the form of our children. Sometimes in the form of our hurting neighbor. Sometimes in the face of the orphan. Sometimes in the face of the hungry. Lord, let us not pass you by when we see you. And show yourself to us, so that we don't miss out when you're there. Forgive us, Lord, for the times that we have turned away a blind eye from those who are needing our help. Help us to be in position to help others. Help us to be in a position to recognize others. Let us give, Lord. Let us give of our wealth. Let us give of our food. Let us give of our clothes. And let us see, Lord, how we can show you different ways to love. The Bible says, if we give one of these in my name, a cup of a cold water, they will certainly not fail to receive their reward. Father, I pray, Lord, that we would be a people that is wholly devoted to you, hungry for you, steadfast for you. I pray, Lord, that we would be a people that would be looking for your interest, at your interest, Lord, and what you are about. And I pray that we would be a proper representation of that holiness, a proper representation of you. We love you. We thank you. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.